Welcome to the second video in our series on how to use Einstein Analytics, not as an administrator or a builder, but as a business user. The first video showed you how to navigate the dashboard and drill into your data. In this video, I want to show you how to use a very powerful exploration tool called a lens. Now, there are two ways of getting to that lens. The first way is from a dashboard, so I'll show you that initially. So let's click on Analytics. Let's go, in this case, to our favorites. I want to look at the segmentation dashboard. And I want to get more information around these top 10 donors. I want to drill into that a little further. So I'm going to hit this Explore button. And that's going to bring me into the lens view. And in just a moment, I'll show you more around how to do that. So that's one way to get into a lens. The other way is rather than clicking on this Analytics tab, we want to go into Analytics Studio and look at the data set. So I'm just going to type A&A here, Analytics. Let's select that. It launches Analytics Studio. Very similar interface to what you had on your tab. I want to go into all items here. And I want to go into my data sets. In this case, the data set that I'm interested in is the accounts data set. So I'm going to select that. And when I do, instead of taking me to the actual page for the data set where we can edit the characteristics, I want to open a lens. So I just click on the data set and it takes me into the lens interface. Now, if you're working from a dashboard, it'll be a slightly different view as I showed you before, because you'll already have a pre-configured view there of your lens, because you'll be working from, as I showed you earlier, you'll be working from the starting point of that, what we call a widget. And a lens is essentially just a query and a visualization. In other words, it's a selection of your data portrayed in a visual way. Here it's a bar chart, and it could be presented in many other ways. But what I want to do is look here at our lens where we started from scratch. Now this is where we choose the measure, or if you think of it as the data that you're trying to, sum or average or count. So in this case, why don't we go ahead and sum the total gifts for these donors. Now I have a dollar amount there. What I want to do is I want to split that up using various groupings or dimensions. So for example, if we look in here, these are all the different ways we can split this up. Why don't we look at industry? So that shows me obviously that healthcare is by far the top industry for our donors. And I want to look at that from a priority perspective. So I'm going to sort that by descending. If you saw how I did that there, just by selecting that arrow. Or if I wanted to, if I don't want to split by industry, I could actually look at a trend over time. So let's look at, for example, last gift date. And we can look at that by, let's say by year, month. And that gives us a trending chart. Now, if I want to change the visualization, I want to go in here. I've selected my chart button. I'm looking at dates and times. I want to go for, let's say, a timeline. So now I've selected that timeline chart. And I've got a representation that's beginning to make sense. But before I go any further, I want to save this to my private folder. I don't want to clutter up the folders of our organization with my private analysis. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's just call this, we want to say total gifts by last gift date. And hopefully you're a better typist than me. I'm going to save that. Notice here, this is where you select the app. I want to save that in my private app. What I want to do, I want to set a date range for my chart. And I want to do it by quarters. There's a lot of ways you can do that. I'm going to type in date here. Let's go by our last gift date, which relates to the x-axis in our chart. We've got some standard options here. I'm going to go into custom. We can do absolute or relative, calendar or fiscal year, but I want to look at our quarters. And I want to go back 6 quarters in our data. And now you can see I've filtered that. But really, if we're going to do it by quarters, it doesn't make sense to do it by month. Let's do it by year, week. Or we can even go in and we can do it by year, month, day. All right, so you see how you can change those depending on the data. There's not a lot of data in this dummy environment. But what I've got there now, I've got my sum of gifts by the date. I filtered out that information there. I want to save this again so that I don't lose it. And then you have a whole lot of different options where we can go in. As I said to you earlier, we could change the chart type from, in this case, from a timeline to a time bar. We can do a bar chart or a column chart. We can go in here and change various settings. We can change settings around formatting. We can change information if we wanted to have a legend or not have a legend. In this case, it doesn't serve much purpose. We can change lots of different characteristics of our lens here. But let's say that let's go back to that timeline view, or let's say to the time bar. So now what I want to do is I want to save this, and I'm going to share this view. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to share it. Now what I can do, if I want, I can go in and I can download this as an image. I can download the actual numbers in Excel or CSV. In this case, because I'm going to share this with someone that has access to Einstein, I'm just going to simply copy this URL and send that to them through perhaps email or Teams or Slack or some tool, and then we can collaborate around this particular cohort. Now I've saved this for myself, so let's go ahead and let's close that. That's total gifts by last gift date. Let's come into here and all of our items, and let's look at our lenses. There's the lens that we had selected. Now I want to use that later on. I'm going to favorite that. Now I can go into favorites. I can open that up. Now I see here that I've got my visualization, but I'd like to look at individual records. So let's go into a values table. And really, I don't really care about the photo URL. So a lot of these fields are not really helpful to me. So let's get rid of number of gifts last year, employees, the URLs we don't need. And yeah, some of that other information is useful. So now I can look at this, and if I want to, I can sort it using just clicking on the column header there. I can change the formatting of this, and again, I could share this. If you know how to create simple dashboards, you could take your lenses and use those to create a dashboard. And look, there's an awful lot that you can do exploring your data using the exploration tool that is the lens in Einstein Analytics. And again, if you're in a dashboard and you want to bring up that view, you go into your dashboard. If it's been enabled on this little drop down here, you'll see Explore. That'll take you into there. Then you can filter. You can change the measure that you're wanting to look at, the grouping. You can do multiple groupings. You can choose your different charts. Again, we could probably go on for hours about this, but it's just an introduction there for you into the world of exploring your data. And I trust that this simple tutorial was helpful. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn or Twitter. Thank you.